Screensavers, followed by Cheat at 8 and Players at 8:30.
Tonight, learn how the government could soon be hunting pirates. Start downloading again with these underground file sharing networks. Plus, it's the ultimate game backup guide. From the Tech TV studios in San Francisco, it's a special edition Screensavers. Are you sharing or stealing?
Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Kevin Rose.
And I'm Sarah Lane. Over the next hour, we're going to look back at some of the best segments we've done recently about file sharing. Or should we say file stealing? What do you think? Sharing, stealing? There's a really big gray area
Well,
here.
that's the whole debate going on right now. You know, people think that they should be able to share their music. You know, if you find a song or something that you're interested in, you should be able to send it to your friend, let them listen to it, and then if they want it for themselves, they can go out and buy it. But, of course, the RIAA says no. And then there's other things like backing up your DVDs. People say if I go out and physically own a DVD, I should be able to back it up because I don't want my kids to scratch it up. I don't have any kids yet, but if I did, I wouldn't want them to do that.
Of course you wouldn't. Then, of course, there's the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which has really mucked a lot of what the terminology and the definitions of sharing or stealing even are. We're going to get into a lot of that later in the show.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. The show is packed with great segments, including a tour through the dark world of chat rooms, IRC chat rooms.
And being the dark tipper, I'm going to show you how to protect yourself against prying eyes like the RIAA or the FBI.
FBI.
I just think that you should be anonymous no matter what you do. You know?
And some people feel that way, absolutely. Plus, throughout the show, I'm going to be asking you questions about file sharing. We're calling it Sarah's Legal or Illegal Quiz.
It's gonna be fun.
Get your number 2 pencils and Scantrons ready. You remember Scantron?
Yes, the old Scantrons in school. I used to cheat on I have a cheat for those, actually.
Of course
I won't
you do.
talk about that here.
Of course you do. But now, it's easy to talk philosophically about sharing or stealing, right? But here on the Screensavers, we're going to give you some practical advice beginning right now. From a recent episode, here's Kevin to show you an easy way to back up all your DVDs.
Hey, how many DVDs do you guys own? Just out of curiosity.
I'm not a big. I have maybe a dozen or so. I don't buy movies. I rent them because I figure I don't want to watch them more than
I have about 20 or 30.
Oh, okay.
And I went out of town this weekend. I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could take my laptop and take all my DVDs and put them on my laptop, and then when I want to watch them, you know,
That's handy.
fire it up and I'm good to go.
Yes.
Or, of course, you know, back them up in case, like, you have kids that you're always complaining about damaging your discs and things like that. Wouldn't it be cool to have a nice little backup so they don't damage those discs and
Wish
things
I
like
had
that?
backed up Shrek.
Well, I'm going to show you how to easily do it completely free. Step 1 is to make sure you have a DVD-ROM drive. Standard little DVD-ROM drive. If you don't have one, $30 at CompUSA. Install one, put the DVD in, and we're going to move on to Step 2. That's easy stuff. Step 2 is to download and install DVD Decryptor. Take a look at this. This is an application called DVD Decryptor, completely free. We fire it up. It's going to analyze the media that's in the drive. Right now I have a Pirates of the Caribbean in there. And there are all the encrypted VOD files showing up on the right-hand side there. Those are VOD files or video object files. That's the movie. Those are the raw files. That's the data right there. All we have to do is click this button in the center here, and that's going to start copying all the files, decrypt them, and store them on the hard drive. And once they're, I'll show you here. I'll exit out here. I've already kind of done it cooking show style. So we go to my C drive, and we go into Pirates of the Caribbean, and you'll notice that here's all the files. These are all the VOD files and whatnot, and they're all decrypted. Now, you could launch Power DVD. You could launch any one of your DVD players right now and play them directly off the hard drive. So if you want a pure, complete, 100% digital backup, you would just go straight to this and start to play them. Now, Step 3 is to download and install DVD Shrink. DVD Shrink is going to take the uncompressed VOD files and shrink them down to fit on a single DVD dash or plus R disc. Now you would think, you know, you have a blank DVD-R, you have a DVD, you should be able to do a one-to-one copy. But most DVDs that you buy at the store, they're recorded on dual-layer discs. That's discs that hold 2 layers of information, or around 9 gigabytes in capacity. Well, the DVD burners that you buy at your local CompUSA, they only burn on 1 layer and hold about 4.7 gigabytes of data. So obviously you can't fit that complete movie on a one-to-one disc. So this is another application I'm going to show here called DVD Shrink. Let me fire it up here. Second free application, super easy to use. All we choose now is open files. So now we're going to go to our destination here and click OK. And what it's going to do is it's going to inspect all those files. Let me send this one more time out here. You should have it now. There we go. Okay, so take a look at this here, and what it's going to do is it's going to inspect all those files, and here is everything that's listed. Here you see we have the AC3 audio, we have the director's comments. We can take out this information here if we want to save some space. And if you take a look here at this little tiny grayed out area here, that's the compression that we're using. So you can see it's compressing it by 60.4%. And this green bar at the top here, that is one DVD. So if you scroll all the way to the right here, you can see that's going to fit on one DVD or a little over 4 gigs of information there. So we can go on the left-hand side here, and we can click on main movie, and then click on, the different tracks of the movie, click on play in this little window here, and we can see the different scenes of the movie. We can take out scenes, we can rearrange scenes, we can delete some of the extras here, some of the different extra information. If we don't want any of the French captions, we can remove that to save some space. So you get to play with the little slider here. You can choose automatic compression, where it automatically chooses the best compression for you, or you can choose on custom ratio right here. And this is where you can play with it to fit it on different size media. If you have, blank CDRs or whatever you're trying to fit it on, you can squeeze it down right here. And you can compress each scene differently. Now, all you have to do is click on the backup button at the top here once you've played around with this, or you can just stick with the standard defaults. And you'll see that here's my blank DVD-R drive, and we're going to make it completely region-free so we can play it anywhere just by checking that box. Click OK, and it backs up the DVD. That's all there is to it. Writes the information right to a disk. If you want to download DVD Decryptor or DVD Shrink, they are 100% free, and you can find them in my article at thescreensavers.com.
So Kev, any updates since we first aired this segment a little while ago?
Well, I'd have to say that DVD Shrink is probably still my favorite backup solution for DVDs. It's really easy to use, and it compresses them down to fit on one. They're updating the versions all the time, and you gotta love the fact that it's always 100% free, so it's a great download.
It is popular. DVD Shrink is popular with a lot of people.
Definitely, probably the most popular going on right now.
There you go.
Now, we're just getting started. I'll be back with some underground P2P networks that you may not know about. And after the break, forget about the RIAA. The government is joining in the file swapping prosecution party. We'll tell you about that in just a bit.
But first, it's quiz time. We're going to test your knowledge of file sharing, rights, and wrongs. The more you answer correctly, the less likely you'll end up behind bars. So, hope you do well. Here's question number 1. War driving. Is it legal or illegal? The answer when the Screensavers sharing or stealing continues. Welcome back to the Screensavers Sharing or Stealing. I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm Kevin Rose.
Now, before the break, we asked you, is it legal or illegal to war drive? According to Jeff Duntman, writer of the book Drive-By Wi-Fi Guide, while it hasn't been tested in court yet, Jeff says at this point, war driving is illegal.
Now, we should define war driving for everybody else out there. War driving is the art of taking your notebook. Now, most notebooks nowadays have wireless access built into them, and driving around looking for open wireless access points. There's software that you can put on there that will discover them and allow you to connect and get free internet access.
Now, of course, you don't have to be driving, but that's just the term for going around neighborhoods trying to find someone who's got something that they're broadcasting out.
You can be war walking, war biking, whatever you like to do.
Or skateboarding.
Or
skipping. If you answered that question correctly, mark a little 1 down on your Scantron. But if you didn't, don't give up yet, because we have more quiz questions coming up.
Now, no sharing or stealing special would be complete without talking about the Pirate Act. That's the act that would make it easier for the government to go after illegal file swappers. Patrick recently chatted with the Electronic Frontier Foundation activist Ren Buchholz about the pending legislation.
Maybe my civics class is a little outdated. I'm getting aged, but I thought it had to go through Congress, then to the Senate, then it's passed. What is the Pirate Act, and where is it coming from?
Okay, so here's what it does. It basically enlists the government in the same kinds of suits that you've been hearing about for the last year that the recording industry has been filing. It's sitting in the Senate right now, but the weird thing is that it could be up for a vote by the full Senate next week, but it hasn't even had hearings yet. So normally for a controversial bill like this, you would expect to have some kind of discussion or debate on it, but it seems to have been fast-tracked.
If this passes in the Senate, will it effectively go into law, or does it then have to go back to the House?
It would have to have a piece of companion legislation passed in the House, and then it would have to be signed by the President.
How do you feel about this? It's essentially, this is the, people have a right to copyright. We're not going to argue that, but it seems interesting to offload the RIA's defense of their copyright to the Department of Justice.
Yeah.
Orrin Hatch had a great quote, well, nobody's got the money or the time to do the thousands of lawsuits it'll take to enforce this kind of thing, but it seems like the RIA is doing a pretty good job of it by themselves.
You're absolutely right. They filed over 2,000 in the last year.
They seem to be picking up, what, $3,000, $4,000, $2,000 to $3,000 $2,000 on average for each person they nail?
Right, absolutely. And actually, they're paying for themselves now. So it's not actually the case that that nobody can afford to do this. They can afford to do it, and they're doing it right now. So I think that there's absolutely no need for this kind of bill at this point.
My next name is coming tongue firmly planted in cheek. This is my sarcasm thing, so I don't get really, the nasty stuff in the boards later on. But the DOJ, they don't have much to do. Shouldn't they be pursuing this kind of legislature?
It's actually a good thing that they have something to do in this legislation because they were just kind of sitting around playing Half-Life.
We're both being facetious,
Absolutely.
right? The DOJ is obviously an overburdened government agency as it is. So what's the other than the RIAA getting to offload this work? What is the advantage to American citizens if the DOJ picks up this little gig?
It's something else for them to spend the taxpayers' money on. I mean, really, I'll stop being facetious. There is no good reason for the government to be doing this kind of work.
It's not necessary.
Absolutely. It's already being done by the recording industry itself. And whether or not you agree with the war on file sharing right now, you'd have to pay for it under this bill.
That we don't like. What's kind of scary about this is this one seems to have momentum. Why is this thing moving so quickly?
Part of it is because you mentioned Orrin Hatch. I mean, he's a big proponent of the bill, and so there are a couple of senators who have taken this on as a pet project. And there's lots of bad legislation that gets proposed, but this one actually is moving. It's been marked up in committee, and it may be voted on as early as next week.
Would that qualify as being fast-tracked?
Extremely fast-tracked.
That's one of the great understatements you'll ever have on air. What's going to happen if this gets passed?
If this gets passed, basically you'll see taxpayer dollars and Department of Justice resources diverted to fighting the war on piracy. That really aren't necessary. I mean, it also it requires the government to set up a pilot program where they're spending millions of dollars then to enlist prosecutors from up to four or at least 4 different states to get in on this. So it's not just they're going to get this new ability to file civil suits. It's actually that they're going to make them start filing the suits.
And of course, it's going to require people and people hours and lawyers and money.
Well, there are lots of other things that the government should be spending its law enforcement resources on.
What else is going on at the EFF?
Well, the interesting thing is that we were talking about how the Pirate Act is in the Senate. There's a similar piece of legislation in the House that doesn't do quite the same thing, but it has the same effect of offloading the war against file sharing onto the government, and that's something called the Piracy Deterrence and Education Act, or the PDEA. So again, while it doesn't actually have anything to do with civil suits, it actually lowers the burden and increases the penalties for government criminal suits against file sharers. So we're talking about jail terms and a lower burden of proof for file sharers.
Interesting thought about the Pirate Act. How much are they expecting? What are the fines they're asking for?
The copyright law was written at a time, and the penalties were written at a time when we're talking about kind of commercial copyright offenders.
Large, generally offshore operations making tens of thousands, if not millions of CDs. Dollars.
And dollars, exactly. And so the fines that we can expect from the enforcement of the Pirate Act are going to be substantial. And especially if the government is going to be taking these prosecutions, we're not going to see the same kind of easy settlements that the RIAA has been accepting.
Interesting. Ren, thank you so much for coming by.
The Electronic Frontier Foundation has an online letter that you can automatically email or fax to your U.S. Senator.
The web address for that is action.eff.org, and look for the Pirate Act. It's right on the front page.
Ahar. Now stay with us. TV Lab's James Kim has the lowdown on iTunes and a few other music download services.
And up next, I'll show you a few underground peer-to-peer file swapping networks that you may have never heard of.
I'd like to hear about those. But first, it's quiz time. The question, modding your Xbox. Is that illegal or legal? The answer when the screensaver sharing or stealing continues. All right, modding your Xbox, is it legal or illegal? Well, according to Microsoft, the maker of the Xbox, while the DMCA does apply and you'd void the warranty, it is legal to mod your Xbox.
Now, at the same time, you got to be careful what kind of software you install on that modded Xbox.
Very true.
Because there is some that has been created with some stolen Microsoft code out there. And anytime you use stolen code, of course, it's going to be illegal, and you don't want to get big Microsoft coming after you.
No, they're going to be mad if you steal their code.
That would be a bad thing.
That would be illegal.
Yes. Now, if you're an experienced file swapper, you know the safest place to hang out online is some of the lesser-known P2P networks. So I give you the best underground P2P sites. If you're a P2P file swapper and you're a little scared of the RIAA, you should be. They're cracking down on Kazaa, eDonkey, Gnutella users. That leaves a lot of people looking for a little bit of an alternative P2P network. So I got a few here for you today. The first one is called Wares. Yes, believe it or not, it is called Wares. If you didn't know what that term meant, it's an old BBS term for illegal files. And it sounds like an RIAA trap to me. I don't know.
Wares.
It's kind of a strange name, but
Wares, kid?
it's a great P2P client. Let's take a look at it here. One of the things I really like about it, it's extremely fast. We'll do a search from one of my favorite bands, Modest Mouse.
And if you highlight over one of the titles here, it gives you a nice little description that it falls under the genre of indie. I like the way that it's laid out. It's a lot cleaner than Kazaa. The media player works extremely well. I couldn't believe it. You can actually play songs as you're downloading them. I'll show you an example here. I'm going to type in Machina 2. This is actually a public domain songs from the Smashing Pumpkins that they released.
That's kind of neat because then you know you're getting a good download if you can listen as you're downloading.
Exactly. So you know the quality that you're getting. And, you know, Kazaa offers that as well, but it's always choppy and sometimes doesn't work right. And I found that this one actually has a really good player built into it. And so let's click on here's the transfer. It looks just like it would if you were in Kazaa or something similar along the lines. One thing I really did like about this is that if you go into the chat, it has a pretty cool chat feature. Here is I joined the Hanson fans channel, yes. Let's go back in the Hanson fans chat here.
Is that Hillary Rosen I see in there? That's good. Yeah.
It's cool because it's no IRC. It's just like pretty straightforward. You just connect and you're ready to go. One of the things I do like, look on the right-hand side here. Here's the users there's only 4 of us in the Hanson's fan chat, but oh, look at it, people are joining now. If you right-click on a member, you can grant them a slot. So if there's people waiting in queue to download files from you, if you become friends with someone, you can grant them a slot, or you can browse that user's file, whether it be audio, video, image, documents. It's a great little network. It's up and coming. It doesn't have probably 1/10 of the users that Kazaa or something like that does, but you know, it's not really mainstream yet, but it's something you should check out.
It's fast.
Yes, it's fast, and it didn't have any adware, which was really cool. I did an adware scan afterwards.
There's a little ad in there,
right? There's an ad built in,
yeah.
But you know how sometimes they install those adware, third-party stuff that runs in the system tray. It doesn't do any of that.
You don't know for a fact though it's not an RIAA honeypot.
I do not know that.
We should just mention that. It
could
be.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, with the name wears, it seems like it is a little suspicious. Yeah, okay. That's what I was thinking when I first saw it. The next one here, iMesh. Have you ever played with iMesh before?
Yeah, I love iMesh.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. It's pretty, for the novice, it's very easy to use. This is how all your media is laid out here in audio, video.
That's an old-timer.
Yeah, this has been around for quite a while. It's not as popular as the others. It's got a lot of users online, though, and I found a lot of the same different P2P songs and all different kinds of media that they have on here. A great little player. I used the player as well. I didn't have any problems with it. Something worth downloading, completely free. Now this next one I'm going to show you, you may have heard Kazaa Lite, the K++ edition that we've shown on the show several times now, was killed by Sherman Networks. They took it down. They actually had their lawyers send papers to Google, so you couldn't find it within Google search results. You can't find it anywhere, but I'm here to tell you, welcome back. Kazaa Lite Resurrection is the name of this.
Baby. Oh, yeah, reloaded, baby.
This is a new version of Kazaa Lite. It's called the Resurrection. It's actually pretty cool. There's the logo, Kazaa Resurrection. And same great features that you love in Kazaa Lite. None of the ads, none of the spyware. Yes, I'm that excited. But you can do searches here, and same features that we're talking about, traffic, searches, theater. I mean, you've seen this before with Kazaa Lite, just under a different name and same programmers. Can you search for that
on Google?
What's that?
Can you search for that
Yes,
on Google?
you can. You can find it. In fact, I put links in my article along with 3 more P2P file sharing networks. You can find that at thescreensavers.com. Bunch of different ones there for you to try out. And but I got to tell you, run the adware and the Spybot Search and Destroy after you install these, because a lot of these have adware built into it.
That's smart.
There's so much more ahead, including Joshua Brentano, who will join us with a tour of the dark side of IRC
Love
chat
the
room.
IRC. Fun stuff.
Are they dark?
Underground.
All right. And coming up, we'll review and compare iTunes and a few other music download alternatives when the Screensavers sharing or stealing continues.
Welcome back to the Screensavers. I'm Kevin Rose.
And I'm Sarah Lane. This is a special edition Screensavers that's going to hopefully help you answer the age-old file swapping question. Are you sharing or are you stealing? Now, coming up in this half hour, it's the ultimate game backup guide.
And I'm going to share with you a few of the things I do to stay on the web and keep myself out of the court system.
I really wish you would keep yourself out of the court system. And throughout the show, we're taking my Is It Legal or Illegal quiz to see how knowledgeable you are about file sharing. Now, in its first year, Apple's iTunes music store sold more than 70 million songs. That's a lot. But they're not the only players in town. From the G4 Tech TV Labs, James Kim talked with the D-Tipper a while back about iTunes and some of its competitors. Let's take a look.
Hey, James.
Hey, what's up, D-Tip?
D-Tip in the house. So tell me about these new music services. What features did you go through to compare these?
Right. There are tons of them, actually. There's some new ones coming up in the next couple months from Sony and Microsoft. We took the most popular ones, and we threw in a little variety as well.
Okay.
But we looked at basically the type of service. You're talking about website-based stores like Walmart or BuyMusic.com where you don't have to download any software. You have software-based songs like iTunes or Music Match. They're jukeboxes that have integrated music stores in them.
Right.
And then you have the subscription, which, for a couple of years it didn't really work out, but now it's starting to gain some momentum.
So it's catching on now, because people were saying subscriptions weren't going to work, and who wants to pay a monthly fee?
There are so many restrictions. iTunes Music Store really paved the way for something that was better, for something that was more fair to people out there. That's why you get 50 million songs, which is quite a lot if you consider the state of the music industry last year.
Yeah. So let's walk through some of the services. Which ones are we going to check out today?
Okay, so actually we also looked at interface and features.
Oh,
interface is very important. We also looked at selection. Now, most of these services and stores have about 500,000 songs, which is just a fraction of what's out there, but that's quite a bit.
I see.
So they're all about similar. All 5 major labels are represented, and it's just about, we did some extensive research going through 7 genres with 2 artists each, finding out how many songs and albums. That stuff's online. We're not going to really mention that here. We also talked about compatibility, AAC, WMA, do you have a PC or a Mac?
Right.
And finally, restrictions. So we can get into this.
Yeah,
this is a lot of information.
Let's get into it.
So this is iTunes Music Store. This is kind of the pioneer. They have this excellent interface right here. All these great tracks and new releases are up top. You have you can choose by genre. You can do searches, which is pretty nice. If I go into David Byrne here, you can actually listen to a 30-second preview, and that's pretty common. You can listen before you buy with a lot of these things.
Now, this is full quality, though. This is not a streaming...
Right.
So you're getting the full AAC. You're going to actually hear what the track's going to sound like.
Exactly, and it's very convenient. I'm actually a member here at Bavis@Mac.com, and I have $36 in my account. I got a couple gift certificates, so you can get gift certificates.
Oh, that's cool.
And this is all a la carte too. If you, this is no subscription required. You can download the download the software on a PC or a Mac. But the important thing for this is the only one using AAC tracks. They're DRM protected, and they only work with the iPods. If you have a portable device. So if you have an iPod, this is the service that you're going to go to.
Yeah, I have the iPod Mini, and this is the only thing that...
Pretty much this is it. And if you have any other player, you have to consider using a different service or store. So let's move on to the next one. This is the one I use, and it gets kind of boring after a while. I've actually gone through all the titles, and and there's actually a little hole there too. I was looking for Air, the electronic band, and I didn't find any Air. So some of the other sites do have that, and I had to go to the store and actually buy a CD.
So they don't have everything. Not the biggest library, but
they actually have one of the biggest libraries.
They do.
But there are holes here and there. And that's where you can go online and see where there are holes. But they have a great selection anyway. This is Napster 2.0. Now everyone remembers Napster.
Of course.
They've actually retained some of the flavor. The Napster brand name helps them a lot. They also integrate a lot of community elements. Now this is you can actually download this for your PC and actually buy a la carte, just like in iTunes. But the big thing about Napster is that you pay $9.99 or $9.95, $10 a month subscription fee, and you get all these extra features. You get community elements. You get to kind of check out what other people have. Let's see what we have here. You can browse like members' collections.
Now, do you have to pay that $10 a month, or is there one without all these extra features?
You can just, like I said earlier, you can just do a la carte with the software. You don't get all those extra features.
Right.
But you can buy for 99 cents per song or $9.99 per hour.
Same price as that. Okay, next service?
So the next service is Real Rhapsody. Okay, this is kind of a unique service, and this Real sort of Rhapsody kind of pioneered this sort of streaming online. There's no really downloading here. You can stream all these radio stations. They've got an amazing program of radio stations, artist samplers. They have an amazing collection. In fact, in most of our genre accounts, we found the most tracks using Rhapsody and most albums. So they have a tight collection. It's very easy to discover music. When you listen to a radio station, I'm going to go here. You can actually customize your own radio station. I've created a radio station based on like Jewel, Air, some other bands.
I see. So you add artists that you want, and then they'll play on your radio station. Now, how's the quality? Is it streaming quality where you get the little hiccups here and there? Or are we talking full featured?
Well, if you have broadband, obviously it's great. Same with Napster. You just sit there and stream everything. Nothing. The whole idea is that you don't download anything and you have it all the time. This is $10 a month. You can also you can't transfer to portable players, but you can actually buy a track, 79 cents per track, which is pretty low, to actually burn to a CD.
I see. You just throw that in your car, whatever you're doing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Music Match.
Everyone
loves Music Match.
Yes, Music Match was huge as far as the jukeboxes go, but then they announced this actual music service.
They were primed to add a music service in there. And the cool thing about Music Match is that it's a full-service jukebox. It's for free too for PC users. If you pay $20, you get the Plus version, which gives you all these extra tagging features, all these faster burning and ripping. And whether or not you pay the $20, you get this download music, and you get these great radio stations. You see right here.
like Napster, it also has a great, very, very nice radio station selection. They've got top artist stations. They've got you can actually customize. And when you're actually listening to music, a lot of people just don't work for their music and search for their music. You can hear a new song. Right. You can actually press buy on that if you like a song. So it's a great way to discover music. I think Music Match is a powerhouse, really. They have a great selection. For $20, it's probably one of the best pieces of music software you can buy for a PC.
Nice.
So I really like this one.
You like this one a lot. How about now Walmart has gotten into the game? You have Walmart installed on here. Is Walmart something installed, or is it just a website?
It's basically just a website.
Okay.
It's a lot like buymusic.com.
Right.
As you can see, 88 cents per track.
Prices are always falling at Walmart.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason we pick Walmart is because it's so well known across the U.S. It does so well on the retail side. Right. And this is the lowest price you can find. You can find some music on Buy Music for 79 cents, but they're pretty cheesy tracks. Everything on here is 88 cents. This is website based, so you don't have to download any software. Just download. This is a great place to sort of bargain hunt. They have 200,000 songs, which is less than half of what the other services have, but they actually had 21 of the Billboard Top 25 tracks. So they have a lot of popular tracks that's comparable to other services. And it's a pretty good place if you listen to WMA players. Now, Music Match, actually, one thing I want to say about Napster is that it
has a player by itself.
It has a player by itself like the iPod. Right. Now, this isn't the only one that is compatible, but you have to use the other WMA players with the Windows Media Player, which is kind of a pain in the butt. Another thing about Napster is that it doesn't have a built-in jukebox, sort of like Music Match. So you have to use something else if you want to rip CDs or something.
So you've got a chance to play with all these.
It's
what do you recommend? What do you recommend? What's your favorite out of all this?
My favorite, I have an iPod, so I recommend,
So do I. So we have to go with iTunes.
You have to go with iTunes.
But for someone coming in this without an iPod, this is their first time getting into the online music deal, would you say iTunes?
I would say Napster's great for teens and those who like to do a lot of community. It's a great gift for for a teenager or college student.
Yeah, don't buy your teenager a Walmart gift certificate because Walmart's not really cool as far as music sharing.
Yeah, and I think Rhapsody has a lot too for people who don't want to work to search for stuff. Right. There's a lot of discovery there. But I think Music Match overall, because of the great jukebox and the great selection, I think that's a great music service for a PC user.
All right. We didn't really have time to do it all justice here because you have so much on the website.
Yeah. Now, I want to let you know about another one of my favorites. It's called allofmp3.com.
That's the Russian site, isn't it?
It's a Russian site, and it's a little confusing at first, but it's a lot cheaper than iTunes or anything else out there, and we're not 100% sure whether or not this is legal yet.
Now, that's because the laws in Russia are different than the laws here, so if you're using a site that originated there, it's a little...
Yeah, it's a little different, and they say that they're paying the fees that they should be to the artists, but we're not sure yet. We haven't verified that.
If they are.
But it's a great site. If you go to it here, allofmp3.com, you'll notice that first thing, it's all in Russian, so you're going to need to convert it to English. And then once you do, you'll see that they have pretty much all the artists that we have on iTunes and then some of the ones that they don't. And an entire album, if you want to download, in any format, is going to cost you around a little bit under 10 cents.
That's a pretty good deal.
That's a great deal.
Now, that also raises some flags as to its legality, but we'll get to a little bit more of that later. Now, don't go anywhere, because you're going to miss our Ultimate Game Backup Guide. And after the break, Joshua's here with a backdoor tour of IRC chat rooms. But first, it's quiz time again. Port scanning another person's computer. Is it legal or is it illegal? The answer when the Screensaver sharing or stealing special continues. Welcome back. Port scanning another person's computer. Is it legal or is it illegal? Well, under the Indian Information Technology Act of 2000, the act of port scanning is not illegal because it doesn't comply with the definition of hacking.
Now, we should also probably tell people what port scanning is.
Good idea.
It's basically an application that hackers will run, or network administrators, to probe another computer to look at what ports are open, what holes to the internet are open. It can be a way that hackers obtain information and learn to hack from. They'll find an open port and they'll actually gain access to someone's computer.
Now, is there an easy way for someone like me to say, I'm closing ports because I don't want you to do this to my computer?
Firewall is the way to do it. That's what firewalls are meant for, is to close down the ports.
There you go.
Now, where's music swapping, hacking? If it's illegal or underground, it's in the dark world of IRC chat rooms, that's for sure. Now, here's Joshua and Patrick with all the dirty details about IRC.
It's called IRC. It's still going strong, and it's one of the tools that's used for good, and it's used for not so good. Here to give us our first look at the IRC and the screensavers. It's odd that we've never looked at this.
We've never looked at this on the screensavers
You
before.
leapt on this. We talked about it. We've never done IRC on the screensavers.
Not once. I started using IRC, I don't know, 94, 95, something like that. And I got on there because I wanted to go into Star Wars chat rooms and talk about Star Wars stuff for all those stupid little geeks out there. No offense to any of you. I used to be one. I still am.
You still
one.
are one.
I'm trying to.
You think
my
episode
bases.
1 is a genius high watermark?
I never
of
said
cinema?
that. I never said that.
You said close to it.
Let's do this segment.
We digress. MIRC is. This is your favorite IRC checkline.
My favorite IRC checkline is Merck, and it's been around for a long time, and a lot of people use it.
And here's people in the background going, it hasn't changed much.
That's right. No, it hasn't changed much at all.
This is a classic stripped-down application.
It's been around since 1988. This guy right here, Jarkko Oikarinen, or something like that, I don't know Finnish that well, he is the inventor of this program. And
had long winters to work on it.
Had long winters to work on it. And this is before AOL and IRC, I mean ICQ, obviously. The whole idea of this is there are chat rooms that you go in on these servers, and people run the chat rooms, and you have to follow their rules.
Because if you don't, they'll bump you and they'll block you, and you'll never get back into that chat
Exactly.
room.
Now, as far as the IRC goes, it's a bunch of computers linked together, networked together. There are 3 big ones, FNet, Undernet, and Dalnet. And I like Undernet. This is the one that I use the most.
You just pick the closest server to where you're located
In theory, that's what you do. In theory, that'll give you the best ping time, the best connection. I don't know. I've never gone through to test that. I just pick one and connect to it. So I'm connected to one right here, and I'm in a bunch of different rooms right now. I'm in 3 different wares rooms, and as you can see right here, there are almost 34,000 different rooms.
Wow.
Open right now.
So people are probably talking about rugby, and people are talking about network security, and people are solving OS 10 problems.
Yeah, trivia and games and sharing music and sharing movies and all of that stuff goes on. The IRC, one of the things you have to remember about IRC is you are not anonymous. There are some tricks and things you can do to telnet into their servers and try to get in through that way.
Why is it so hard to be, or difficult, if not impossible, to be anonymous on IRC?
Well, it tracks your IP address or your information. So if I were to do let's see, who am I here? Missing my window. It will tell you some information about your ISP, and from that, people they can track it back to you. Now, one
it's really funny. Every so often I see something go like, "Hey, I've posted a Wares site at FTP."
Right. Exactly. So here in FTP Wares, notice there's a bunch of stuff going on. Let's see. There are people who right here just post. There's an FTP site right there. It has 2 users on it. There's games and movies and all kinds of stuff. And Merck just crashed. Start it up again. So there are a lot of different rooms that you can go in. There's different ways that people trade files. Some people use CTCP, which is a client-to-client protocol specially designed for
So if I know
IRC.
you and you know me,
Right.
I might be like, "Hey, I just, DivX this movie. You want a copy of it? Sure."
Exactly. Now, the one thing you have to remember also about IRC is it is completely unmonitored. So right now, I'm running this NetNanny program to filter out all the swear words, all of the objectionable content. So parents, if you're out there, remember your kids are open to anything and everything. The worst, most disgusting things you can think of are going to be on here or talked about on here. But there are good uses. This is how people make friends and hang out and chat. And so there's good and bad.
So basically, this is instant messaging or chat for a little step beyond it. But this is chat for geeks.
Yes.
This is a classic tool for communications. It is used for some less than.
That's right.
There's reasons people hide things in IRC rooms.
Yes, it's a good tool to use. I recommend anybody to at least get out there and try it and mess around with it. Read the facts. Read everything you can about kind of how to behave and commands and things to remember. So
cost?
Yes, cost is free. It's 30 days for free. Then they do ask that you pay for it after that.
Now, we want to let you know you have to be careful with the world of IRC. It is a chat room, and it is unmoderated. So, kids, this is probably not a place for you. A lot of bad stuff going there. Hackers do hang out there. So I would definitely recommend you got to have a firewall installed, and just be careful when you get on there.
And just make sure your kids aren't doing a lot of IRC chat without you knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
There's so much more on this show. Kevin's tips for staying out of digital trouble are just around the corner. And after the break, you've been waiting, but wait no more. It's the ultimate game backup guide. But now, it's quiz time again! Removing the copy protection on iTunes songs. Is that legal or is that illegal? The answer after the break. Welcome back. Removing the copy protection on iTunes songs. Is it legal or is it illegal? Long story short, it's illegal. So tell us why it's illegal, Kevin. I know you know.
Well, the DMCA, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, has some pretty harsh penalties for those promoting methods of disabling or circumventing copyright protection.
Okay.
And, therefore, using any of the tools that have been created around that is going to be illegal. Bad thing. Yeah. But there are ways around that. Within iTunes, you can take a copyright-protected song, and then you can burn it back to an audio CD. Now, once you do that, you have like an original audio CD that you can rip back into an MP3 or whatever file format that you want.
So it sounds like even though it's clearly illegal to take copy protection off iTunes songs, there's a really easy way loophole.
It's easy, but it takes a few extra steps. They figure if you go to that much trouble to get around it, you can do it.
You at least have to have the blank CD.
Exactly.
Now, as promised, it's the Ultimate Game Backup Guide.
We play a lot of LAN party games, all different kinds of games. We have 5 machines, 5 different LAN party machines, and we play, we'll see, we have a total of about another 5 different games that we swap in and out. So 25 discs to swap in and out and not lose, and Dan takes some of them home.
I was going to say, invariably somebody borrows the game and takes it home, or they set it on the table and somebody knocks it off on the floor when it gets run over by the jib, or it gets kicked, or you know what, it doesn't matter. Discs get damaged. They are fragile.
They are. So we do a couple different things. One, we definitely want to back up our games. That's the first thing I wanted to show you today is how to do that. And the other thing that we want to do is eliminate that swapping the disc, swapping out your media in and out.
We like that.
You know, every time you launch like Halo or a game like that, it says put the first disc in. You're always like hunting around for it.
Because they basically they want you to have the first disc so they know that you actually have a physical copy of the game, so they know it's not a pirated copy.
Right. So the way around it is the first step is that you have to identify the copy protection, because there's so many different types of copy protection out there. You have to find out what that disk is using in order to be able to copy it.
Okay.
So this is an application we have here called Cloney XXL, and I'm just going to launch it. And what it's going to do is it's going to read the disk and then identify what type of copy protection it's using. And I don't want to say anyone...
Now, I noticed it looks pretty easy to use, but I should point out, in case you can't read the little tiny letters at home, that it is in German.
It is in German, yes.
See die Scan Optionen, System Überwachen, Option Tools.
You know, sometimes you have to search a little deeper for these types of programs.
Okay.
You know, they're not allowed in the United States or something like that.
The point being, though, is there are legitimate reasons to be able to copy your games. Anybody who has a small child in an Xbox, anybody who has a teenager in an Xbox knows this.
I even damage my Xbox games.
See, even adults.
Yes. So this here, what I've done is I took a snapshot and I actually blurred it out because I didn't want to show you what game we were copying. But as you can see here, Safe Disk, or I'm sorry, backing up. Thanks, Bet. Here you can see it's running Safe Disk version 2.7. So that's step one, is to identify what application it's running.
Yeah, we should point out, right? It's a Safe Disk is a form of copy protection. That this is a direct violation of the DMCA, but we'll get into that later on.
Yes. So let's go ahead and launch. This is another application called Alcohol 120%.
This is what you're going to use to store images of CDs on your hard drive.
Exactly. Okay. It's what we do here. So you can see here, here's an image of Tecmo Bowl. This is just an example. 722 megabytes stored on the hard drive. So that's just a big, large file that was dumped down to the hard drive. And how we created that, let's just go through this real quick here. This is the image burning wizard. You launch this, and then you choose where you would like to store the actual image to the hard drive. Click on Next, and then here you see at the bottom here the data type. This is where you select what type of copy protection they're using. In this case, it was Safe Disk 2.3, so we're going to select that and then click OK. Now, the second you click Start here, it's going to read that disk, copy all the information, and then store it to the hard drive here, and it'll list it right here in the list once the copy's been completed.
And that way you don't have to move the disk back and forth, you don't have to have a copy nearby.
Exactly. We right-click on it, choose Mount on Device, and it's going to create a virtual drive. So it'll create a virtual CD-ROM drive in your computer.
Right.
In this case, it's the E drive, and it's just going to act like you just put in a brand new disk, even though it's just an image on the hard drive.
Cool.
And so that's all there is to it. That's how you do it on the hard drive. If you want to copy it, same thing. You just click on Copy Wizard, and instead of going to the hard drive, it's just going to make a duplicate and actually burn it to a CD.
Okay.
It's pretty easy.
Kids, don't steal games. Don't steal software.
So now we can make backups of our games, right?
Well, if you own the game, if you actually physically own the disc, and you get a copy of this software, you can make a backup. Now, still circumventing this copyright protection under the DMCA is considered to be wrong. Now, are they going to go after the home user? Probably not.
They're worried about people making a bunch of copies and then reselling them, right?
The guys that
perhaps hurting their original game sales.
Swap meets or the back of their trunks of cars. They don't want that to happen.
Are a lot of people doing that sort of thing?
Yeah, I get good games to swap meet all the time.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Technology is a powerful tool. Some use it for questionable purposes, obviously. Now, Kevin, can you show us a few things to do to keep yourself out of legal trouble, should it come to that?
I can indeed. One of my favorite tools that we've talked about on the show before is it's an IP blocker. It's going to block IP addresses, and it's called Peer Guardian. Let's take a look at it here. I'll fire it up. And what this does is this goes and downloads a whole range of IP addresses. Here, like 94 million different IP addresses that are blocked. So anytime that anybody tries to connect to you, whether it be, let's say, the RIAA or the FBI or someone like that tries to connect to your PC,
it will sense their IP address or their range that they own and block them from connecting to your PC.
I see.
Now, this is good for all different types of things. It doesn't necessarily have to be the RIA. If you have a friend or somebody else that's port scanning you or bugging you on a regular basis, or you can just tell by your firewall that they're trying to attack you, you can add their IP address manually and block them as well.
And that'll block everything. They can't comment on your blog, they can't email you, they can't do anything?
Well, they'll be able to get to your blog unless you're serving your blog from your house. This is just blocking your home computer.
Good point. All right, well, when we come back, more tips to stay out of jail and some final thoughts when the Screensavers sharing or stealing continues. Welcome back, and time to learn how we can stay out of trouble in other ways.
Yes, I have a few more for you.
Got to hand it over to you. All right, let's see it.
My first and most favorite is this one here, the anonymizer.com.
Okay.
Great website. Now, the reason I like this is if you notice at the top there, it has a free private surfing area, a little box there. Now, rather than typing in a website URL into the address bar in your browser, you can just type it right into the free private surfing area, and this is going to allow all of that content to pass right through to your browser, but keeping it completely secure. So let's say you're at work and you want to check, good old ESPN game scores. You can do that without your work knowing exactly where you're going.
You have a little invisible shield.
It's a little tunnel. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a little tunnel, it's a little shield. It's a great little tool. Another one that I like, application, is called NeoTrace.
Oh, we've demoed this on the show.
We've demoed this before, but it's cool because you can find out who it is that's trying to hack you. A lot of these firewalls will pop up IP addresses of who's trying to connect to you. You type this into NeoTrace, and it will track it down to the location of who's coming after you.
And it has a nice geographical map. Sort
beautiful
of like,
little map.
Here they are in Atlanta, and you go, aha, interesting.
Couple good little tools there.
Those are good tools. Now, my quiz, the quiz that you've been taking throughout this show, war driving,
illegal,
modding Xbox,
is legal, but you can't use any stolen software.
Port scanning
is legal, but you can't harass people or you can get shut down by the ISP.
And iTunes protection
is illegal, but there's ways around it that we showed you earlier.
There you go. That's the quiz.
That is it for this special sharing or stealing edition of the Screensavers. I'm Kevin Rose.
And I'm Sarah Lane. Thanks so much for joining us. We'd like to thank our guests, Red Buchholz and James Kim. See you next time. Have a great night.
Have a great night.